A dog's bark revealed a chilling secret. What Ethan found left him speechless. Ethan Lockwood never expected his usual morning stroll with Teddy to turn into a moment that would shake him to his core. But as he soon discovered, some things were buried for a reason. The crisp Saturday morning air filled Ethan's lungs as he stepped onto the trail, his faithful dog Teddy trotting beside him. The white-furred mutt, usually calm and content, seemed unusually tense that morning, his nose twitching, his ears hard. At first, Ethan dismissed it, probably just a squirrel or some scent that caught Teddy's interest. But as they neared a worn-down fence at the outskirts of Eagleton, Teddy's behavior changed drastically. Without warning, the dog bolted, barking furiously at a patch of dirt near the fence line. His sharp, frantic barks shattered the peaceful silence of the morning. "Teddy, hey buddy, what's going on?" Ethan called, quickening his pace. But Teddy wouldn't stop. He stood frozen, hackles raised, growling lowly at a mound of earth that, at first glance, seemed like nothing out of the ordinary. Just a compacted patch of soil, maybe from an old root or a small landslide. Ethan crouched down, running a hand over the dirt. It felt off. The texture was wrong, softer than expected. Almost spongy. A cold shiver ran down his spine. Something was beneath the surface. Teddy whined, pawing desperately at the dirt as if urging Ethan to hurry. With a deep breath, Ethan reached forward and carefully scraped away the top layer of soil, and then he saw it. A faint pattern in the mud, something unnervingly smooth. Not a rock, not just dirt. His heart pounded as he pressed the surface again. This time it gave way slightly, revealing a glimpse of something pale beneath the grime. "Oh man," Ethan muttered, his stomach twisting. Was it flesh? The idea made his skin crawl. He dug faster now, his fingers working through the compacted dirt until he could grasp the object properly. It was heavier than expected, caked in hardened mud, roughly the size of a melon. Something was trapped inside. Teddy barked again, his tail stiff, his entire body tense with unease. Ethan didn't wait. He cradled the strange object in his arms and turned back toward town, sprinting toward the Riverside Animal Clinic. Dr. Karen Page barely had time to process Ethan's rushed explanation before he placed the mud-crusted object onto the exam table. "I don't know what it is," Ethan said breathlessly. "It feels alive." Dr. Page's eyes sharpened. Without hesitation, she called for her assistant, Miranda. "Warm water, towels, and antiseptic. Now." Miranda rushed to gather supplies as Dr. Page examined the hardened dirt casing. She scraped away a small section and gasped. "There's something breathing inside this," she whispered, her fingers moving with expert precision. "We need to work fast." Ethan watched in tense silence as warm water softened the dirt, revealing more of the trapped creature. A paw, a tiny, trembling paw. "Oh my God," Miranda murmured. "It's an animal." The team worked quickly, carefully removing layer after layer of mud, until finally a face emerged. Small, spined, fragile. A hedgehog, Dr. Page confirmed, her voice filled with awe and concern. "It must have gotten trapped in the mud, probably during a storm. If you hadn't found it." She didn't need to finish. The hedgehog was barely clinging to life, its spines glued together with thick silt, its breath ragged and uneven. Ethan swallowed hard. He had almost walked right past it. The next few hours were a blur of intense care, fluids, heat, gentle cleaning. The clinic staff worked tirelessly, giving the tiny creature a fighting chance. Ethan stayed, watching every movement, Teddy sitting loyally by his side. For an agonizing stretch of time, the hedgehog didn't stir. The room fell silent, tension thick in the air. Then, a twitch, a faint, barely noticeable movement. Ethan held his breath. Another twitch, a slow inhale, a tiny, fragile sound, somewhere between a squeak and a sigh. Dr. Page exhaled deeply, a relieved smile breaking across her face. That's a good sign. Days passed. The clinic kept the hedgehog under close observation, feeding it small amounts of nutrient-rich food, ensuring it grew stronger. Ethan visited daily, always bringing Teddy along. The dog, who had been the first to notice the buried creature, now watched over it protectively, his tail wagging every time he caught sight of the recovering hedgehog. "We've been calling him Muddy," Miranda admitted with a grin one day. "Fitting, don't you think?" Ethan chuckled. Yeah, Muddy the miracle hedgehog. The moment finally arrived. It was time to see if Muddy could return to the wild. Ethan and Dr. Page carried the small creature to a nearby nature reserve, an area safe for hedgehogs, rich with food and shelter. They gently placed him on the soft grass, watching as he hesitated, his tiny nose twitching at the unfamiliar freedom. For a long moment, Muddy didn't move. Then, as if something inside him clicked, he bolted forward, scurrying into the underbrush, disappearing into his new home. Ethan exhaled. "He's going to be okay." Dr. Page smiled. "Thanks to you and Teddy." Weeks passed, and life returned to normal. Ethan and Teddy continued their morning walks, though Ethan always found himself glancing toward that same patch of earth, half hoping, half expecting to see a tiny, spiked figure watching him from the grass. One evening, as Ethan tended to his garden, Teddy's ears perked up. Then, he let out a sharp bark. Ethan's stomach dropped. "Teddy," he called cautiously. The dog ran toward a shadowy corner of the yard, growling at something unseen. Ethan's pulse quickened as he hurried over, his mind flashing back to that buried secret from before. What if? He reached the spot, heart hammering. Teddy was staring intently at something just beyond the fence line. Something small, something moving. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. Could it be? Then the figure turned toward him, and in the dim light, he saw the unmistakable gleam of tiny, spiked quills. Was it Muddy, or something else entirely? Ethan stepped forward, pulse racing, and the screen fades to black. What do you think Ethan saw? Drop your theories in the comments below.